Hello everyone and welcome to this video which is in our Great Human Middlegames series. I'm Grandmaster Matthew Sadler and I want to take a look at a couple of French games, one of which I saw live, and this was the game we're looking at here. This is Shreas Royale, England's youngest GM, against Royal-Stubbs at the British Championships in 2025. And I was walking around the tournament hall and I caught a sight of this and just had a flashback to something else I'd seen. This is a typical French endgame where the queens have been exchanged, of course. There's a strong knight on d4. The black bishop on d7 is a little passive. But in principle, it's not so bad for black. I mean, some players have made a living of holding this sort of stuff. The reason that it really lit some lights in my brain was actually a very famous game between John Nunn and Victor Korchnoy at the Lucerne World Team Championship in 1985. And I'm just going to switch right now to that position and that game, and you'll see what I mean. And the position was this. So exactly the same contours. Yeah, pieces are a little bit different. There's a pawn on a7 rather than a6, but you know, it's basically the same. Now, what actually happened was that Korchnoy here came up with a very, very interesting plan. And made such a huge impression on me. I've always assumed that it was, you know, just obviously better for black somehow, you know, but it's not really true at all. I mean, John was actually doing very well until he kind of blundered basically a little bit later. But still, that plan, incredibly dynamic and incredibly attacking. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Dynamic and attacking in this position really made a big impression on me. So what did Korchnoy do in this position? I mean, you might want to give yourself a little bit of time to think about it, or maybe after the next move. Black played rook ag8 and white played rook hf1. And what you're really looking for is the next two moves that Victor played, because that's kind of the key to it. So what Victor did was he played g5, f5 from John. That's quite obvious. And now the next key move, which is g4. And this is really, really nice. The point is that, you know, by freeing the g5 square for the rook, it's going to give you the opportunity to go rook g5, attacking the pawn on e5. So white's got to be very careful whether he, you know, if he does something with this f pawn, then e5 could just be very, very weak. Also, fixing the pawn on g3 like this means that black is able now to play h4 and h takes g3 and get some counterplay on the king side. So, you know, I was sort of so impressed by the line. That's how it gets sometimes, you know, that I sort of thought, oh, well, black must have been just clearly better here. No, it wasn't the case at all. It was all pretty unclear. But the idea, you know, to actually be able to, from this position where you say, well, black's just going to be holding for a long time and not going to be doing anything, to change it to, you know, to this position, basically, I thought was quite extraordinary and, you know, made a very big impression on me. So, moving back now to the Shreas Royale Royal-Stubbs game, let's go back to move 21 here. You know, when black played the move rook g8, I was thinking, ooh, g5, g4, you know, that just was in my head. But of course, it's not quite the same here, because white's actually put the pawn on h3 very cleverly, which means that after you go g5 and g4, then white will play the move h4. And stop the rook from getting to g5, and then also stopping black, of course, from playing h4 and opening up the king side. So that's not even a theme in this position. But yeah, I mean, just quite interesting somehow, and you know, just also shows that, you know, for all of these huge ideas, you know, sometimes a small pawn move like h3 is enough just to stop it completely. But it didn't stop there, actually, because in the game, Shreas actually did something that I thought was really, really interesting here. So white played the move rook f2, that's fine. And here black played the move knight c8. Very common idea for black in this position. The knight on b6, in principle, not doing a great deal. So you're going to reroute it, and it's either going to come round to c6 just to try and exchange off the knight, or sometimes even round to b5, you know, or supporting a bishop coming to b5 to swap off the light squared bishops. Very common idea, been played a lot. But here, Shreas actually came up with something that was quite interesting. He played the king to e3 first. That's fine. Knight a7. And now, can you work out what idea Shreas came up with? It's not winning or anything like that, but it is very nice. So, I mean, the key problem for white really is, you know, how am I going to create open lines, you know, and actually without just opening something and just allowing black to exchange off all the pieces on it. I mean, obviously, you know, you can't play f4 to f5. G4 will just allow black to occupy the H file. You're not going to get there yet. And you know, you've got another obvious break, c4, d takes c4, bishop c4. But I mean, the c file, black's going to just move a rook across there and cover everything, and there's not much happening. But what Shreas found was a way to actually open a file that black cannot contest. And that was with the move c4, d takes c4, and b takes c4. Yeah, looks pretty ugly in some ways, but of course what you're doing, you're opening up the b file against the b pawn. You can get both rooks on there because this rook's nice and flexible on f2. And you know, the pawn on c4 is stopping the knight getting to b5, and also eventually the knight getting to d5 as well. So it's got quite a good thing. It's also stopping black from playing the move b5, of course, because we've got you know, we've got 3 pieces attacking that already, and obviously more's coming to the b file. So this really, it just kind of radically, you know, changes the contours of the position, and gives black something, you know, fresh to deal with somehow. And yeah, that must be, you know, also quite a difficult psychological thing for black. You know, weren't really expecting danger in that area. I haven't actually seen this this theme in this French structure anyway before, so yeah, I thought was very impressed with this one. So I mean, black played a few good moves: knight c6, rook b1, attacking the b pawn, and black decided to protect it with bishop c6. But now this move bishop e4 followed, and yeah, I mean, this is just rather nasty. Yeah, I mean, you're threatening to actually take and go king c5 and rook b7. The rook can come around here as well. It's just, you know, it's kind of worrying for black. And here black actually blundered, played the move king d7, and after rook b2, rook b8 takes, rook b6, and c5. You know, white's just going to at some stage play c6 or break through simply. And you know, what actually happened here was quite nice. Shreas just sort of put all of his pieces, sort of hammered them into the black position. Black tried to look for some counterplay, and then white just came around and attacked this pawn on f7, and then after black played f6, but if b takes c6, we just go king c5 again, and after f6 played king c5 here, and you just got all sorts of threats: rook d7 check, rook e6, taking on f6. It's all horrible for black. But it was really all to do, you know, with this move b takes c4, opening up the b file unexpectedly, giving a fresh line of attack where, you know, black doesn't have the possibility to exchange off rooks, for example. In general terms, you know, what was the best line for black here? The best line for black actually was just to try and chase the king back first. And then bring the rook over. And the basic idea is, you know, white's going to invade, going to try and get some pawns, but you're going to try and get some counterplay when that happens. The king's going to move over to here, and, you know, the engine sort of thought that the black should be okay in that sort of position. But okay, you know, it's quite a sharp endgame, and it gives white, you feel like white's, you know, really pressing and got chances, which is you know, I think more than you know, than you felt with this position, where it just seemed to be, well, white looks better but doesn't really seem to have anything significant. So there we are, just two very interesting French themes, one for black, one for white, just from one little middle game excerpt there. Hope you enjoyed that, and stay tuned for much more. Thanks for watching.